Good morning, everyone, and thanks for being here again today. Minister Dempster and Minister Haggie should be online with us and joining us virtually, and continue to thank both of them for their leadership and great work leading the departments that are doing tremendous work during this emergency situation. Also today, as we discussed yesterday, Minister Davis, Minister of Education and Early Childhood Development, and we also welcome back Chief Superintendent Pamela Robinson, RCMP B Division. As well, we have our Director of Wildfire Management, Craig Cody, who will provide some more information today. I know there have been a lot of questions about, from the media and from residents throughout the province about how decisions are made in terms of air assets and firefighting allocations and firefighters, how those decisions are made. Of course, he can provide some detailed information about that, but also, as I will say today a little bit later, that keep in mind that things do change very quickly, and decisions that are made maybe this morning are not what we actually or what they end up doing throughout the day. So weather conditions change, fire behavior changes, and Craig can certainly provide some more detail about that this morning. People in Conception Bay North area are starting to receive word from their municipalities and the RCMP about structure losses, specific structure losses that are impacting their communities. So to those who have received that terrible, unfortunate news, who have lost their homes, our thoughts are with you all. And of course, those individuals who are still waiting word, we continue to think about you as well in this very difficult time. We do have a lot of ground to cover this morning, so I'll move right into the fires. The Kingston fire this morning is now 9,127 hectares. The forecast is calling for cooler temperatures today, lower winds, and a chance of showers between 2 and 10 millimeters. Winds are expected to shift toward the south today, and if that happens, the fire strategy, as I noted, will shift as well. A shift in the wind toward the south will turn the fire and smoke away from the northern flank, which could potentially allow crews on the northern edge to help with further structure protection. The Incident Command Centre has now moved to Salmon Cove, and they'll work there with the firefighters on the ground to work on a plan for structure protection in that part of the fire. On the ground in Kingston, there are 80 Canadian Armed Forces firefighters, 20 Ontario firefighters, and some Newfoundland and Labrador firefighters as well. The plan for air today in the Kingston fire, and again that can change based on weather, smoke, and fire conditions, is to have the heavy capacity helicopter in the air, as well as 6 water bombers who will work a series of steady missions. Now, as I said, of course, weather conditions dictate what we can do, and this is the first day we've had low ceilings. There's low ceiling right now, so as of this moment, the air assets are unable to get to the Kingston fire, and they can't fly, but we will continue to monitor that throughout the day, and hopefully that'll lift and the air assets can get to that fire. There are, though, crews on the northern flank working on structure protection and putting out hotspots as well. As I said, work is continuing with the RCMP and the towns on structure loss and doing assessments when it's safe to do so. Yesterday, there was an evacuation alert issued for the unincorporated area of Jobs Cove, and residents are asked, of course, to be ready to evacuate on short notice. Myself and the Deputy Minister yesterday evening around 5:30, 6 o'clock, were able to take a Canadian Coast Guard helicopter to try and see some of the Kingston fire and some of the area that has been affected. I can just tell you that it is obviously a very large area. It was difficult. The pilot was unable to get to certain parts of the fire. We couldn't do the whole perimeter because of the extreme smoke, and it is very thick smoke. I mean, you cannot see your hand in front of your face if you were in that smoke. What I can say is that there are areas that are just completely burned and black, so it is understandable that you can't determine if structures are in there and lost or not. But I will say that there are, the good news is there are numerous and a number of structures that are still standing and still safe. And as I said earlier, I think this week when I visited Adams Cove after the May fire, it was unbelievable to see the fire move throughout the community and throughout the houses, and some were lost and some weren't. And you could see yesterday there had been burnt areas right up to a community, but the community still remains. So, we were talking yesterday about hope and optimism, so let's continue to be optimistic about saving structures, and it's clear that that effort has worked in some parts of those communities. So I'm thankful for the firefighters for that very important and very successful work to date. There's no change in size of the Paddy's Pond fire. It's still approximately 306 hectares. Continues to be a lot of smoke and hot spots as well. Weather conditions are improving today with forecasted lower temperatures and 5 millimeters of rain. It's not a lot of rain, but as everybody knows, we haven't seen any rain for a long time, so every little bit is help, and we're thankful for it. Helicopters are continuing bucketing this morning, and fire guard construction is going well, and some areas have been completed, with work continuing today with help from our Canadian Armed Forces. There's 30 ground crew in Paddy's Pond. And of course, people continue to wonder when they can go back to their homes and when the evacuation alerts will end in this area. But it is still an out-of-control fire, so we continue to hope for progress today, and we'll continue those conversations, but at this moment, it is not safe to return to the evacuated areas. The Martin Lake fire size is still approximately 2,160 hectares, so no growth overnight. It continues to burn mostly along the perimeter rather than moving east, west, north, or south. Weather conditions are improving, forecast at lower temperatures and lighter winds there, and it does look like potentially 5 to 10 millimeters of rain, but up to 25 millimeters in thunder cells. Northerly winds are forecasted for mid-afternoon, which will be helpful in pushing the fire back on itself, but smoke and excessive heat in the area make it difficult for ground crews yesterday. Cabins in the area were sprayed down, and we continue to assess the impact on the Rushy Pond cabins. There's 4 helicopters, a bird dog, and 2 215s planning to work on the fire today with 30 ground crew, and Route 360 remains closed until further notice and will continue to be monitored. Just a fine update, there was an illegal fire in Gander Bay yesterday, so another fine has been issued for $50,000. We have 40 more firefighters on the way from British Columbia, and British Columbia will also be sending 10 support staff to help in incident management. So now I'll turn it over to Craig.
As the Premier Ministers have pointed out many times over the course of this crisis, they rely on the very experienced fire behavior specialists and operations experts on our incident management teams to make the best decisions possible when fighting these wildfires. The incident management team follows a single overriding principle: above all else, protect life and the safety of people. This includes not only the people of the province, but the lives of our ground crews, our pilots, that are doing these very dangerous jobs. After securing life and safety, the next priority is on protecting property and infrastructure. So the first question we have to ask ourselves when planning our operations each day, are we putting our first responders or our citizens at undue risk? This can mean a direct risk from fire or smoke, or from related events like a rapid unplanned evacuation. I would like to talk about where and how water bombers or bucketing aircraft can be effective. There are 2 things that our air attack officers and our operations chiefs consider when working on a fire, and those 2 things are safety and effectiveness. Number 1, can it be done safely? Our water bomber pilots rely on visual references to fly. They need to be able to see each other and the terrain at all times. Over the years, there are times when we have had nearly a dozen aircraft on a single fire, often with a mixture of both fixed wing, so water bombers, and rotary aircraft, helicopters. And these are all operating in a relatively small airspace. The safe management of that airspace is crucial and complex. If the smoke is too heavy or the clouds are too low in an area, the air attack officer, the operations section chief, or the pilots themselves will make the call with respect to the aircraft and flight safety, often having to move to another area of the fire where they can work safely. The second consideration is effectiveness. You may have heard references in the media to the ranking system used for fires. Ranks 1 to 4 can effectively be fought using aerial suppression. However, at rank 5 and rank 6, fires no longer respond to aerial suppression. Control is extremely difficult, and direct attack is rarely possible given the intensity levels. The characteristics commonly associated with the extreme fire behavior are things such as rapid spread rates, crown fire development, medium and long range spotting, fire whirls, and massive convection columns, as well as great walls of flames. These conditions are a certainty at rank 5 and 6. These fires present serious control problems, as they are virtually impossible to contain until the burning conditions lessen greatly. Direct attack is rarely possible given the fire's probable ferocity, except immediately after ignition, and should only be attempted with the utmost caution. A runaway or escaped fire should be considered as a distinct possibility. The only safe and effective control action that can be taken until the fire run expires is at the rear and the flanks of the fire. The extreme fire weather conditions we all experienced this past week or so allowed the Conception Bay North fire to reach rank 5 and 6 multiple times. At that point, not only is it unsafe, but the water bombers become ineffective on the front of the fire. When this occurs, the focus of the aerial attack then becomes protection of values that may be at risk on other parts of the fire, as I said, including the flanks and the rear of the fire. One of the most common questions we hear is, why don't the water bombers start at daylight or at least very early in the morning? Several factors had to be taken into consideration when scheduling water bombers. These include pilot duty time, anticipated fire behavior, and maintaining of initial attack capabilities for unexpected fire occurrences and fire behavior in the day. Each day, a plan is formulated to maximize the coverage and time on the fire while taking into account pilot fatigue and safety. Even with the best plans, we have to be flexible as weather conditions and fire behavior change, sometimes from minute to minute. Decisions have to be made quickly, calmly, and rationally. They must be grounded in science and based on the fire conditions at the time. Unfortunately, this morning, we are currently experiencing a low ceiling in the St. John's area, which will delay the water bomber departure this morning. The reason we start them later in the morning is to maximize the amount of suppression we can do during the active burn period in the afternoon and evening. Each water bomber crew can fly 2 separate 4-hour missions, so a total of 8 hours of duty time each day. These duty hours are incredibly valuable and must be used strategically as possible. Of course, with increased numbers of available water bombers, such as additional assets from our friends in Quebec and Ontario, we can extend that coverage period. Again, keep in mind that we must strive to ensure that we maintain aerial suppression capabilities throughout the afternoon and into the evening, which is what we refer to as the peak burn period. This is the most critical and dangerous time for increased fire behavior. There's a huge amount of detail that goes into planning these operations that I won't get into here, but I hope that this helps people understand how we use the finite resources that we have and know that we are fighting with everything we have every day to make sure no one loses their life and that we can save as many homes as possible in this extreme fire season. I'll finish by expressing my great appreciation for the hardworking folks in the Forest Service, whose determination and resilience in the face of truly extraordinary and extreme conditions this season has been inspiring. We will remain 100% focused on our mission, and we will not stop until these fires are brought under control. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. I'll ask Chief Superintendent Pamela Robinson now for some comments. Thank you for coming back from the RCMP. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Premier. I want to start by thanking everybody for their efforts and cooperation and support as we continue to battle these wildfires. The positive partnerships we have with our provincial officials, highway enforcement inspectors, firefighters, ground search and rescue, armed forces personnel, private contractors, colleagues in the RCMP, and others have not gone unnoticed, and your efforts are appreciated. Safe communities are connected communities, and it truly is a team response supporting public safety. Our officers and staff have been working around the clock, tirelessly committed on the front lines and beyond to ensure service delivery needs with the wildfires and in our operational responses are being met. On an operational front, we're maintaining safety as we continue to work with our provincial partners, forestry, our fire investigators, and our communities throughout Newfoundland and Labrador to respond and investigate fires. We are still urging anybody with information, anybody who's witnessed suspicious behavior, anybody that may have surveillance video in fire zones or in an area fire has confirmed or been in contact with, to please contact your local police department and share that information. And I want to thank people, since we were here on Monday, for the increased calls in reporting suspicious behavior crimes and working with the police and our partners. Our officers have also issued summary offenses tickets to individuals that have been found violating the provincial ban in the Forestry Act. I want to remind everybody, actions have consequences. And please ensure you're aware of the provincial ban, the guidelines that encompass those acts. Unintentional consequences in this hot, dry climate are real and can easily move into something much bigger than you ever thought was possible. I want to be clear. If an investigation finds that you're responsible for a fire that's in violation of the ban or a fire that's resulted in a criminal or suspicious investigation, you could face serious penalties, tickets, fines, or even jail time. I also want to ensure Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, we've deployed to our fire efforts over 100 officers since the onset of this, just to wildfires alone, but we are having daily conversations to ensure that the policing needs across Newfoundland and Labrador are being met. Finally, I want to remind everybody, you need to be prepared and be safe. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of obeying evacuation orders and staying out of mandatory evacuation areas until you receive the all clear or the okay from an official person to enter. I know it's frustrating. You're dealing with grief, you're dealing with loss, it's your community, and you just want to know your home is okay. But it is incredibly dangerous. When you re-enter an evacuation zone, you're putting police officers, firefighters, search and rescue, and other responders in danger. So please be safe, be smart, and always listen to the first responders who are putting your safety ahead of their own in responding to this wildfire response. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of everyone, thanks so much for the RCMP's efforts and work and communicating everything to the public as well. It's important. Minister Davis.
Thank you, Premier. This is a challenging time, and we want to provide accurate information to impacted school communities. Unfortunately, Cabot Academy School in Western Bay has been lost. This is certainly a massive loss for the community, but we are here to support the school community and provide as much information and support as we possibly can. I've been in contact with the administrator and will be in contact with the staff as well. Besides the potential damage in Conception Bay North region, many of our other schools are being used to prepare to support firefighting and community response efforts. I want to thank everyone working to support these efforts within our schools, the administrators, school and faculty, facility staff, and public service members who ensure school sites are ready to welcome workers, volunteers, and community members affected by evacuation orders and alerts. My sincerest thank you. Schools have always been a community hub and will continue to provide access to them when needed to support this important work. With back to school time coming around the corner, we're developing various plans for different situations that the schools' communities might face. While we are aware of the potential impacts due to the fire, some schools are currently being used as hubs to support evacuees and firefighting efforts. At this time, we don't anticipate any delays to return to school for students and staff overall. But let me speak directly to our students and parents and teachers and staff. We understand that many of the families and individuals have been affected by these fires, and many are staying in other communities temporarily. Rest assured, all students and staff will have a place in a classroom or a position at a school this upcoming school year. Within our education system, everyone will be ready to help. If a student is in a different community or an educator or staff member can't return to their home, we will welcome you into a school community that is convenient for you. We've also had discussions. I had the pleasure of talking with the president of the NLTA last night to ensure this will be a seamless, established transition. Parents and students can call We've established a number for that, 709-729-2489, or email 2025fires@nlschools.ca. You can enroll in a school at any time, including on the first day of school. For teachers and school staff that may be displaced, we've also established a number for you to call. It's 709-729-2547, and an email at hravalon@nlschools.ca. We will be reaching out directly to the Cabot Academy school community in the coming days to share information. We recognize that this is a challenging and stressful time for many people, including staff, students, and families in the K-12 system, not just in that area, but around the province. My own family, my young kids have asked about the fire and worrying about the kids and what they're going to face. So I think all parents are dealing with that across this province. So we'll be there as a school system to help wherever it needs to be. Thank you once again to the members of the education community and system for providing help and opening their arms to those displaced on both the front lines and behind the scenes. I was able to visit the reception center and shelter at Carbon Academy, and I was blown away by the support provided by teachers, retired teachers, school staff, and administrators, among many others. But I'm not surprised the teachers stepped up. They do that every day in their communities, whether it's a basketball team or a soccer team or taking people to an outing. They always step up. So I just want to say a big thank you to them, the many people that I met and the many people that are there that I didn't get to see. Our government is grateful for the many first responders, volunteers, workers, community members who are giving of their time and talent to help fight these fires and ensure the safety of everyone. Thank you, Premier.
Thank you very much, Minister Davis. We're having some technical difficulties with Minister Haggie and with Craig this morning, so we'll take questions and we'll work through it as best we can.
Yeah, so that school lost in Western Bay, what is back to school time going to look like for these students and faculty in just a few years?
Yeah, no, we're looking at that. The department, when this started right away, we started looking at what it looks like after the opportunity for us to fight the fire and beat that back and assess what the structure loss would be. They've worked very closely. They're going to work very closely with the administrators, the students, and faculty there. And we just wanted to make sure that they were well aware of the information that they can have. We know it's maybe not the right time for them to start that now, but we wanted to let them know that we're going to be there for them. We're going to start working with the NLTA, putting together a plan on how we're going to work with them to ensure that the teachers that have been impacted will get to be at a school that's convenient for them, as I said. And those approximately 60 students that would be impacted will be placed depending on which community they're in, and the supports associated with supporting those students will accompany them as well.
Premier, can you speak to the request made to Ottawa about EI being extended for workers in the areas affected?
Yeah, so Minister Byrne will be making that request in writing, if he hasn't done so already. And I've certainly been talking to Minister Byrne over the last couple of days about this issue. Met with Minister Joanne Thompson as well yesterday here and raised that with her. So, it's sort of pro forma. We anticipate that the federal government will approve that as they have for other emergency situations like this.
Does this apply to firefighters, volunteer firefighters?
Well, no, volunteer firefighters wouldn't be receiving employment insurance. So it will be, just an example would be someone who works in a fish plant who would need so many hours before they can qualify. And if you can't go to work, that means you're less likely to get your hours. So that's the sort of flexibility we'll be looking for from Ottawa to make sure that people can still qualify through no fault of their own. They're unable to get to work.
Mr. Chippett, can you speak to how the strategy will change later today if the winds shift to the south in CBN?
Sure. So if they shift to the south, it's essentially a flip of the activities that are going on the north and south right now. So you would see more in the way of aerial suppression, provided the weather allows, on the southern part of the fire. And you would see ground crews enter on to the north side of the fire, nearest to Job's Cove, to look at structure protection and hotspot monitoring and addressing.
Has there been any efforts to create fire breaks along that southern area in case those winds do shift to protect communities?
Yes, there has been. So there was one nearest Perry's Cove that, of course, the fire threatened, I don't know, at the beginning of the fire. I don't know how many days that is anymore. But there's a second one as well down there that crews were working on, and it was completed. So that will become, those are completed, but that'll become the focus for aerial suppression if the winds shift, and provided the weather allows, of course.
Given that we do have people who now know that their homes are gone, what is the plan for them, where they're going to live, where they're going to stay? I know you've been working on it, but do you have an update?
So, yeah, I mean, the first step is, to get these fires out and assess who have lost their homes, what the communities look like, and what we're going to do in terms of medium-term solutions for people where they're going to live. The Cabinet Committee is working on that. We're certainly exploring options like, are there available spaces in and around the Bay de Verde Peninsula? We know there's temporary foreign workers who will be going home soon, so they're living somewhere, so that space might become available. There's a closed motel in the Carbonear area that's been closed for a number of years. We're looking at that as an option, and those will be medium-term solutions. And then long-term solutions, we'll certainly have to assess, who has insurance on their homes, who will rebuild, where they can rebuild and where they want to rebuild, and just thinking about what options we presented with people in Port aux Basques. If people want to rebuild either in that area, if they can, that's great. If they want to rebuild somewhere else, we'll have to look at options for that as well. So a lot of things to consider when we get there, but we're not really there yet.
Do you see Route 360 potentially opening in the next few days?
I think, we said yesterday to anticipate it would still be closed for an extended period of time, and we're confirmed again it's closed today. So I think given the extreme smoke there, I think we can anticipate still it'll be closed.
And what's the immediate plan for that? I remember with fires in the central area a few years ago and the Bay de Spear Highway being closed, getting fuel and food to the area was a problem. Are we seeing that again now on day 2?
I haven't heard of any problems yet. I mean, we're aware of this potentially happening, so we were prepared. I know that, the ferries are able to go back and forth, and in the event that we need to bring it in food or supplies or medical supplies in through air transports, we'll do it that way.
Question for the RCMP. There are a lot of people in Central Bay North who believe that the recent fire was the result of arson. I know there's a criminal investigation ongoing, but do you believe that that this was in fact arson?
I can say there's an active investigation that we are treating as criminal. So that means that it's being investigated in collaboration with forestry. We've got our major crime unit, our GIS units, and our members from that area that are responding and investigating to ensure that those resource needs are being met. The investigation is complex. In that, we've got an abundance of tips and information that we're working through, and it's ongoing. So when we get to a point, if we get to a point to determine it's criminal in nature, we will then proceed as appropriate at that time. But it's still very much an active and new investigation, new in that new information is coming in daily.
What do you make of just the sheer number of fires that have happened in that area compared to other parts of the province? We've heard criticism of the RCMP. People say that there hasn't been sufficient resources and investigation done into this series of fires that have happened in this very localized area.
Yeah. I can say if anybody's got any information about any fires, to report that information to the police, and we will respond as appropriate when we can. In regards to criticism to the RCMP, again, if you have any information that you'd like to report, or you'd like to talk to a supervisor, or you have concerns, I would encourage, in contacting the RCMP to have those conversations directly. But again, I would like to reiterate, information that's, in the community, whether it's rumor, whether it's theory, whether it's on social media, we can't investigate what we don't know. So we're here to support. We want to work with you, but we need your help and support in doing so.
I'm kind of realizing those numbers don't match from the reports of people saying staying in the Central Bay North area and the reports you've received, have you been getting more calls, more information from the area since?
There has been a significant number increase in information that has come in through our detachments, also through Crime Stoppers, our tip lines, our members that are attending our schools and our evacuation sites and speaking to our community members on a daily basis. We are getting a significant increase in information.
Can you give a ballpark how many numbers of calls, tips you received?
I don't have that exact number, no.
How many people, with the new Jones Cove addition, how many people are actually under an evacuation order and I guess within his evacuation alert? Just give an update on that.
I mean, it was about 15,000 people related to the Paddy's Pond fire, and we had 3,000 people evacuated approximately. So that was an approximation, so I think in addition to this new alert, it would still be right around that number. So between 15 and 20,000 people in the province are under an alert or order, I would estimate.
On the education side of that, how many students are displaced right now in these zones?
Right now, we have 60 students that would be displaced by the loss of Cabot Academy. You know, we're going to work very close with the families when the time is right for them to determine where they are going to be residing over the next little bit, and then make sure they've got space and access to the resources that's required at the schools that they will be participating in as well. Same answer for the teachers and faculty. We're going to work with them to find what's best, because you may be a teacher that's affected because you've lost your home. Hopefully that's not the case, but you may have, and you may be in a different school than you're currently than your community. That happens from time to time. So we're going to work very closely with the individual circumstances of those teachers as well as those students that are impacted.
What about the other schools in the areas, though? We're talking specifically about the 60 from the school that was lost, but how many other schools are, I guess, in the emergency zone, and how many students are affected?
Yeah, so we've got, as I said before, 12 schools that are involved in the response that are either ready to receive potential evacuees because we've got orders in place or potential orders in place. Those schools are set up, ready to go at a moment's notice. The ones that are actually have firefighters or first responders or the Canadian Armed Forces in them, so they would be impacted, of course. But we still got time before school starts, and a day, as many people at this table knows, is a lifetime when you're dealing with wildfire. So, you know, we're very focused on, the response, the acute response to stop the fires, of course, as a government. And from a school perspective, we're going to be working with them very closely to satisfy the needs and requirements that our students have. We want to make sure that is as seamless as possible.
You said 60 students. How many teachers and staff at Cabot Academy?
There's 11 employees that would be directly involved with Cabot Academy.
Premier, when you could see from the helicopter, what did you see?
A lot of smoke, a lot of thick smoke. Fewer flames that I would have anticipated. There were certainly areas that you could see it burning and moving through the forest and through the woods. A lot of barrens, which was good to see, when you go west of where the fire is right now, and a lot of burned out areas, which, as I said, so those places you can't determine what has burned in that part of the fire, but a lot of structures still standing. The sun was shining. In some ways, it was hopeful to see what is still possible in that part of the province where the fires are. But we also saw 2 or 3 helicopters bucketing, and we saw a water bomber flying into the smoke and then out of the smoke. So it's a little bit overwhelming in terms of how all those assets are going to be able to put this fire out. I think it's pretty clear we're going to need some rain.
Did you see many foundations or homes that?
Yes. Yeah, we saw lots of homes still standing. I don't want people to. We're 2 weeks into this. I don't know how much longer this is going to go. I don't want to give people any false sense of hope, but I want to tell people what I did see. And I did see a lot of structures still standing.
I understand right now we're in the emergency management mode, but is there any thinking about the future, about what if another summer like this happens over the next years? And what kind of discussions are we going about that?
Yeah, I no doubt we're going to have those discussions, because I don't think it's what if, I think it's when this happens, not only here but across the country. I know that even if we wanted to buy a water bomber today, it's going to take, what, 5 or 6 years to get here? So, you know, what do we do in the term between now and the next 6 years in the event we do order more water bombers? I think things like maybe working with municipalities to set up fire breaks before these things happen, I think is certainly something we can look at. That might provide assistance. It will provide assistance. As we said yesterday, you know, we created a fire break in 2022 for Grand Falls, Windsor as a result of a fire, and now we're seeing that it's great that it's there. So I think that's certainly something we'll take away. We do have one water bomber that was an RFP was put out to repair that, our 5th water bomber in our fleet, so that'll be good news. But again, we'll have to continue discussions about what can we do other than just air assets, and other than firefighters, how we can look at containing and preventing fires in the future.
Do you already have an idea of what Newfoundland would really need if another summer like that happens in 5 years, 10 years?
No, I mean, I can't say that. I mean, we need more assets this summer than we needed last summer. But as I said, you know, we're taking all the assets we can from across the country and thankful that they're showing up. But this is literally from coast to coast. I mean, Vancouver Island and the east coast of Newfoundland is on fire at the same time. It's a difficult, large country to manage, especially when it's a hot, dry summer from coast to coast to coast.
Are you looking at all at the prevention side of things for the future?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's just about let's wait till the fires happen and then use the assets that we have. I think it's about prevention. I think it's about awareness. You know, not all fires are created by humans, but some certainly are. So if we can create a sense of awareness about that, looking at what we can do in our provincial parks, you know, do we limit where people can smoke? Do we limit where people can have campfires? All those sorts of things, I think, is an analysis that has to take place.
Do you have any pushback from other provinces that might want some of their assets back, given they might have fires in their own backyard?
Say that again?
Have we had any pushback from other provinces who have their assets here, given they might have fires in their own backyard?
Yeah, Jamie could comment on that. I don't think it's pushback, but it is, of course, a national coordination in terms of, as Craig was talking about, you know, the effectiveness of water bombers. Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, I would just say that there's a constant discussion around any assets that are here. You know, so some of the assets that have been here for the longest period of time, they will also time out at some period of time from a rest perspective for crews and so on. So as an example, with the 415 water bombers, we still have a resource order that is kind of permanently on the board with CIFC for new 415 water bombers, but everything we've brought here from other provinces and territories are here and still within their, you know, their duty hours and so on.
Has Newfoundland sent any assets to other provinces this season?
I believe we sent firefighters early in the fire season to western provinces. If I guess the specific ones, I'll get them wrong, I'm sure. But we have had crews of firefighters and some IMT, incident management team members sent out to some of the fires out west, I believe it was.
I'll just make a note on your question, too. Like, we have announced the Atlantic Wildfire Center here in Newfoundland, in Central. So, you know, that was some fortunate foresight that I think we saw that this was not going to be a situation in the future that was going to get better. It is going to get worse. So that will certainly help in terms of dealing with things here, not only in Newfoundland and Labrador, but of course with our Atlantic province colleagues as well. And appreciate their support in seeing that initiative through.
And I was curious to know what percentage of firefighters that are on the ground right now are volunteer firefighters as opposed to professional firefighters, and does that make any changes to how things are managed on the ground?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers about the ratio between volunteers and wildfire fighters, but part of the reason that the incident management team is going to Salmon Cove today is to work with the volunteer firefighters and the local fire departments there to make sure that any services that they feel they can offer, they can coordinate with the team.
I think it was mentioned that there will be compensation for volunteer firefighters. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so I think it was important to recognize that what, you know, these individuals signed up for was serious. They want to look after their communities. They recognized as firefighters they were if called to a scene where there was a fire, they would be putting their life in jeopardy, and they do that on a volunteer basis, which is an incredible thing to do. They are continuing to do extraordinary work in terms of fighting wildfires and trying to protect their communities. I know they're doing it, but I would suggest it's probably above and beyond what they thought they would be doing when they signed up, but they're doing it anyways, and they want to do it, and they're willing to do it, and we're thankful that they're doing it. But they are willing to step up in these emergency dangerous situations. I think the least we could do is step up to say thank you and to compensate them for the extra additional dangerous work that they're doing. We'll figure out what that compensation looks like when we get out of this thing and we know exactly what their efforts are in terms of danger and in terms of hours.
Can you let us know, Minister, what schools are being used as hubs in the region? Do you have that information?
We can get you the list. I wouldn't want to give you the 12 of them now, and in fact, I may miss one based on, but we can get you the list, no problem.
Certainly Carbonear Academy is the main one.
Absolutely.
Right now. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Again, appreciate everyone being here, and to all Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, everybody's doing everything they can. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your kindness, and stay safe.